Why does Qatar, a vocal supporter of Somali unity, quietly engage with Somaliland's leaders? This is the heart of a complex diplomatic dance in the Horn of Africa. On the surface, Qatar's policy seems contradictory. It invests in Mogadishu's federal government, yet also hosts Somaliland officials for high-level talks. This dual-track approach is shaped by regional rivalries, economic ambitions, and the need for stability along the Red Sea corridor. The Horn of Africa is a battleground for Gulf powers, and Qatar's engagement with both Mogadishu and Hargeisa is a strategic necessity. By keeping lines open with Somaliland, Qatar ensures its interests are protected no matter the region's political future. This isn't about choosing sides, but about pragmatic flexibility in a volatile region. Somaliland, meanwhile, leverages Qatar's interest to boost its own international profile. We'll separate fact from rumor, focusing on official statements, documented meetings, and the real motivations behind Qatar's actions. The Qatar-Somalia-Somaliland triangle is a case study in modern multipolar diplomacy. Officially, Qatar's stance on Somalia is clear. It recognizes only the federal government in Mogadishu, echoing the UN, AU, and Arab League. Doha's One Somalia policy is backed by substantial aid, infrastructure projects, and political support, all aimed at strengthening Somali unity. Qatar funds roads, government buildings, and provides direct budgetary support to Mogadishu. It also mediates between Somalia's central government and its federal member states, always framing its actions as support for a unified Somali state. Publicly, Qatar never refers to Somaliland as a separate entity. All communications focus on cooperation with Mogadishu. This consistent message maintains diplomatic credibility and aligns with international norms. Any deviation could alienate Mogadishu and draw criticism from global bodies. Yet this unwavering public stance makes Qatar's private talks with Somaliland all the more intriguing. The official line gives Qatar the space to quietly pursue more nuanced, informal channels in the region. Away from the spotlight, Somaliland's leaders, including President Musa Bihi Abdi, have visited Doha for private talks with senior Qatari officials. These meetings, though publicized by Somaliland, are rarely detailed and often focus on investment, development, and strategic cooperation. For Somaliland, the goal is to build relationships and attract investment, especially in infrastructure and the port of Berbera. Qatar, in turn, uses these meetings to gather intelligence, assess stability, and ensure its interests are represented in a key region. These talks are pragmatic. Qatar gains insight and influence, while Somaliland boosts its international profile. Qatar manages the optics carefully, keeping these engagements discreet to avoid provoking Mogadishu. The Somali federal government often protests, but Qatar's strong support for Mogadishu usually smooths over tensions. This balancing act positions Qatar as a potential mediator and indispensable regional player. Qatar's interest in Somaliland is driven by the strategic value of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, vital shipping lanes for global trade and Qatari exports. Somaliland's 850-kilometre coastline offers direct access to this corridor, making it too important for Qatar to ignore. Engaging with Somaliland ensures Qatar has a partner on the ground for maritime security, counter-piracy, and potential port access. Ignoring Somaliland would cede ground to rivals, especially the UAE, which has invested heavily in the port of Berbera. Qatar's engagement is a hedge. It maintains influence regardless of political outcomes. The competition for ports is fierce, and Qatar's moves are a direct response to UAE expansion. While supporting Mogadishu is a long-term investment, dealing with Hargeisa is a short-term necessity. Qatar's dual-track policy is about balancing ideal outcomes with present-day realities. In geopolitics, such contradictions are often unavoidable. The rivalry between Qatar and the Saudi-UAE bloc has turned the Horn of Africa into a key arena for Gulf competition. The 2017 Gulf crisis intensified this contest, with both sides seeking allies and strategic assets in Somalia and Somaliland. The UAE's investment in Berbera was a move to counter Qatar's influence in Mogadishu. Qatar's outreach to Somaliland is a counter-move, ensuring it isn't sidelined in Hargeisa. For Qatar, engaging Somaliland is about preventing exclusive UAE influence and promoting a stability that serves its interests. This isn't about breaking up Somalia, but about managing regional power dynamics and mitigating rival influence. The Horn's local disputes are now deeply intertwined with Gulf rivalries. Qatar's strategy: support Mogadishu, engage Hargeisa, and keep all options open. Qatar's dual-track policy has drawn criticism, especially from those loyal to Mogadishu, who accuse Doha of hypocrisy. Critics argue that Qatar can't support Somali unity while hosting Somaliland's leaders, seeing it as quasi-recognition of secession. The Somali government has condemned such meetings, viewing them as violations of sovereignty. Qatar defends its approach as pragmatic, insisting that engagement with Somaliland is about stability, not endorsement of independence. Doha argues that ignoring Somaliland's reality would be irresponsible, given its stability and strategic location. Qatar also points to the actions of rivals like the UAE, which have a far more formal presence in Somaliland. In this context, Qatar's quiet diplomacy is portrayed as measured and responsible. Doha's response in a complex region: flexibility trumps rigid diplomatic formality. Rumors swirl about Qatar supplying military hardware, even fighter jets, to Somaliland, but there's no credible evidence for these claims. Major news outlets, security analysts, and the UN panel of experts have found no proof of such transfers. These stories, often spread on social media, are disinformation designed to inflame tensions and discredit rivals. Somaliland's military capacity remains modest, with no sign of advanced weaponry. The persistence of such rumors reflects the atmosphere of suspicion in the region. These narratives are weaponized by different factions for political gain. Responsible analysis must separate fact from fiction and focus on the real drivers: geopolitics, economics, and rivalry. The real story is Qatar's quiet diplomacy, not secret arms deals. Is Qatar's engagement with Somaliland hypocrisy or pragmatic realism? The answer lies in the grey area between principle and necessity. Publicly supporting Somali unity while privately engaging Hargeisa is a contradiction, and for Mogadishu it can feel like betrayal. But in a region where influence is contested daily, Qatar's leaders see engagement as essential to protect national interests. Ignoring Somaliland would mean ceding ground to rivals like the UAE. Somaliland, meanwhile, skillfully leverages these relationships to boost its quest for recognition. By engaging with multiple partners, Somaliland increases its leverage and visibility. Qatar's approach is a calculated gamble: maintain strong ties with Mogadishu while keeping a crucial line open to Hargeisa. This delicate balance is the reality of modern diplomacy. What's unsaid often matters as much as what's declared. Qatar's official statements will affirm Somali unity, but its actions reveal a nuanced, pragmatic policy. In the end, this isn't simple hypocrisy. It's the complex reality of protecting interests in a complicated world.